Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We're doing it live. Fuck it.
Tonight on Stumbling Down History Road, we're going to be talking about the history of fighting games and what they kind of turned into, where they came from, and yeah, all about that nonsense. I am Jackson. I have somebody on the phone.
He's pinch distracted.
Hello, my name is Cam. My friends know me as Charlie, but I would like to be referred to as Cam today.
Cam, it is.
Aye, Cam. And
How you doing, fellas? It's been a long time.
yes, it has been. And next to me, as always,
I'm D.
Yep.
What's up?
So, I want to start off with a little bit of a question. What would you define a fighting game as?
Okay, that's it. What would I define a fighting game as? I would strictly define a fighting game as either. Well, there's several types. There is your traditional 1v1 fighting game.
Okay.
It could be either strictly sprite-based 2D, like the original Street Fighter, KOF, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat. Then you have your full 3D fighting game like Tekken, Virtual Fighter,
Things of that nature.
Tekken Virtual Fighter, and Soul Calibur, that
Was
kind of stuff.
Tekken 3D?
Anything that you could.
Yes, because
Huh?
it had. So Tekken eventually integrated into 3D because it had that live stage that you could traverse. That's what made it 3D.
Okay.
Yes, it did, and a lot of that technique was taken from Virtual Fighter. Tekken was more kind of like a more refined version of Virtual Fighter. You see, it's a very interesting history when it comes to that. And then you have your arena battle games, which is more kind of like
Super Smash
your.
Brothers, Brawlhalla, things like that.
You see, I didn't want to say
Sony
that, but I
All-Stars.
was gonna say more like here's a deep cut. I don't know if you guys heard this game, Power Stone.
Ah, Power Stone.
I don't think I know that one off the top
Yeah,
of my head.
Basically one of the first
it's
platform arena-style fighting games, but nobody ever remembers it because, as it turns out, Nintendo just had better marketing.
See, I like Sony All-Stars. Get to play
you
as
see those kind of
Kratos and...
games.
Sorry. I'm just
Yeah,
being a
so
goof.
I have a very contentious relationship with Smash because I like let's just say like my college just kind of like ruined that game for me.
Yep. Yep.
I think the community kind
Also,
of ruined that
the
game
lack
in
of
general.
people wearing deodorant ruined that game for me.
Yeah, so fighting games in a more tournament or high level of competition are typically associated with
Uber nerds.
uber nerds, big old sweaty boys, almost like the stereotypical World of Warcraft episode from South Park, but not quite that bad. And unfortunately, in certain locations, certain group settings, it can be like that. It's not like that for everybody, but it mixes. You know, it waxes and wanes.
I think the only place worse would be
Yeah,
Magic the
it
Gathering
definitely
tournament.
it definitely was like that at college for me. So
Yeah.
College was a fun
I
time.
remember that vividly.
Uh, okay, so you would say that it is quantified as a striking or grappling style, one-on-one multi-fight, like one-on multiple style fighting competition type of a thing.
Yeah, like listen, to put it more generally, like if you're any video game where you're just going at it with somebody is a fighting game, and yes, I lump that with Smash because I'm not here. I just don't want to hear you. I just don't want to hear anybody argue with me. It's like, oh, Smash is a party game. Like, it's a party game that people took way too seriously. But go off.
I would agree that yes, it was initially meant as a party game that got taken way too seriously, uh, but that's for another topic.
You ever see the fight mods
Mm-hmm.
where they take
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of fight mods.
Stretchy Pikachu is hilarious. I don't know if you've ever seen Stretchy Pikachu.
But
No, I never seen it.
You take Pikachu's skin and I think put like Ganondorf's moveset on it, so he gets like Ganondorf's body shape and looks like Pikachu just stretched out with a six pack.
It's weird.
It's
That's
weird.
very odd.
Super Smash Brothers, specifically Melee, one of the most modded platform fighters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to agree with you. Pretty much anything that can be led to mostly some form of martial arts or boxing or some form of, combat-oriented play could be lumped into some variant of a fighting game.
Well, I mean, the earliest ones were cabinet boxing games.
Yes and no. It depends on what you define as the earliest one.
Like an
So
arcade
there's-
cabinet.
So, yes, heavyweight champion is defined as typically being like one of the first fighting games. But I was able to find a couple before that technically. Are you good there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just doing some cooking.
Ah,
Anyway,
man who
but
multitasks.
I'll do
Do you
you
have a
one
cooking
better.
channel?
Would you consider Mike Tyson's Punch Out a fighting game?
I would, yes. I would not say that it's the first, but I would say that it is one of the ones that helped bring it to home popularity.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first ones
Mm-hmm.
to pop a home release. Yeah.
It wasn't one of the first ones to get a home release.
Yeah.
It wasn't. There was a lot of indie games that got put onto effectively just gaming computers from the 80s that got a lot of home releases. And then there was a bunch of things on Commodore 64 and Atari that could technically be quantified as fighting games of some variant, whether it's a beat 'em up or if it gets turned into almost like a.
I'm sorry, but what the hell is the 80s equivalent of a gaming PC? Is that like the size of the room that we're in right now?
No.
Like that sounds like it's
No. It's basically modern-sized PCs, but running at like Atari.
Give me
Huh.
1 minute.
interesting.
Keep talking.
Oh, I'll keep talking.
He could keep talking.
But I would like to say that there's a game that came out in, I believe it was 79, 78, called Warrior or Warriors, that could be
Yeah, it was
quantified
Warrior, I
as
think.
one of the first fighting games. Just in some broad aspect, it's two people or you and a computer.
I think it's a top-down sword fighting
It
game.
is a top-down sword fighting game, and it's a one-hit kill on either you or your opponent.
Remember Bushido Blade?
Loosely,
It was PlayStation. It had the really weird running animation, and it was two guys sword fighting, and it was
Battle Arena Tushinden.
no, I'm talking about Bushido Blade, because that was a one-hit kill game.
Bushi, yeah, that's Square. But like that came a little after. So
Well, yeah, I was just kind of
but
because it's one-hit kill thing.
not a
It's
lot of
just-
people talk about the game, but the first weapons-based that I know of, first weapons-based arena 3D fighter, Battle Arena Tushinden.
so that is
That game I feel walked so Soul Calibur could run.
Hmm.
But that's just me. Continue, guys.
Well, I mean, Soul Calibur was originally, I think, called Soul. The first game was Soul Edge, I think, or Soul Blade, and then it became Soul Calibur. The next one.
Wait, hold on, you're buffering.
you're buffeting. But yeah, Warrior 100%. That technically has
Okay,
a
it was
3D.
Soul Edge. I'm sorry.
That technically has a 3D fighting arena and it's top down and it uses weapons. So if we really want to go with that, then there's actually an RPG in 81 that used the first, from what I could tell, the first side profile fight. That was kind of neat.
So
There's
I mean,
there's all sorts of different like little advances and little things that turn fighting games and from what they were, which was effectively just like Pong and Atari style graphics at one point, into what they are today, which is it's got esports, it's got $100,000, multi-$1,000 prize pools at multiple tournaments throughout the course of the year. There's a lot of recognition behind it. People get sponsorships for this. I mean, fighting games these days is just huge.
so now I'd like to,
It is.
sorry.
No, it is. I'm agreeing with you. Keep going.
So I was gonna say though, if we really want to, a lot of fighting games do owe their original origin to the kung fu movies like Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, and such. Because
Yes.
especially Game of Death, because the idea of traversing floors and fighting an opponent on each floor is partially that's what gave.
So fun little fact. While I was doing some research on this, shout out to a podcast that I'm gonna plug right now because they helped me out with a lot of it. Because I was just listening to their stuff and piggybacking. Codex
Okay.
video game history. They're on like Spotify or something. That's where I found them. They're good, and this is a website, hardcoregaming101.net. That there's a lot of history on that as well. But basically, there's a
Bro, teenagers.
a lot of people quantify fighting games as like pre Street Fighter 2, post Street Fighter 2.
Subscribe. Sorry, some teenagers walking by.
Would you guys agree with me that there's like a big division between pre Street Fighter and post Street Fighter?
Oh, massively.
Yup.
Yes.
Okay.
Heck, there's a division between, like, you could say between, like, pre-Street Fighter 2 itself and then, like, just normal Street Fighter, because Street Fighter 2 is when it introduced the special moves, like the Hadouken and Tiger Shot and stuff.
So, no. It gets lumped in as being the first special moves, but it's technically not, if that makes sense. There's also some people who falsely quantify it as being like the first grappling and the first combo based, but it's technically not. There's a lot of other little games that, again, I 100% implore everybody to take a look at hardcoregaming101.net if you want to like a deep dive on when each little intricacy and additive was added.
Is that that really Web 2.0 website you sent me?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Shout out to
Karate,
people know
I'm
Web
gonna
2.0.
I'm gonna shout out a video game called Karate that came out in 1983, I believe it was. This was the first.
I thought it was,
Yours, yeah.
I thought it was Karate Champ.
So there's Karate, and then there's Karate Champ.
I
Two
see.
different games.
Karate, the initial one. So that was actually the first martial arts based fighting game, and it actually took application from the Taekwondo instructor that the guy who was helping to make the video game was like going to. So it was backed up by some form of a martial arts instructor to help him quantify like, hey, look, this is how fighting should look. And it was the first one not based off of like jousting or swords with knights or boxing. So it was like the first martial arts fighting game.
Okay, got it.
There was also karate champs, kung fu champs. There's also a lot of different like intricacies between American releases or English releases with English names and Japanese releases, because you can have 8 different names based off of what region they go to. For God's sakes, just look at the fact that there's like 15 different Street Fighter 2s. And then
Whoa.
each one of them has different names, whether it's in Japan or anywhere else in the world.
Did you know one was inspired by an illegal cabinet mod?
Yes.
It was Street Fighter. The cabinet, I think, was a Street Fighter Rainbow.
Yes,
and
the-
that's what inspired Street Fighter Turbo.
Yes. So it was part of Street Fighter 2.
Yes, but the 2 is kind of just prefixed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But the guy, Nishinoya, he worked with Street Fighter 1. He was the main developer for it. He also helped make Kung Fu Champs, which is a beat 'em up. And he ended up later working with who's the people behind Mega Man? I don't remember offhand.
Capcom.
Yeah.
Capcom?
The main brand. It's mainly Capcom, but I think it's one of their little individual branches too. But specifically, it's Capcom.
No, he ended up working for SNK. That's who it is. He ended up working for SNK.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
But he also did work for he ended up working for SNK. And then the guy that did the initial art for Street Fighter 1, not Street Fighter 2, the characters for Street Fighter 1, he ended up continuing on with Capcom to basically be the lead guy for Mega Man and all those little games, which is a semi-fun fact.
I'm listening.
No,
Go
no.
on. Keep going, guys.
No, we were hoping you had something to interject there.
Yeah, it sounded like you might have.
No, but as far as the facts go, you're on the money. And yeah,
Thank you.
see, are we talking about Street Fighter right now, or like because now that we're talking about Capcom?
So I just wanted to point out a couple major like advances in fighting game history before we got onto, because this is all technically considered by the website that I was referencing and
Mm-hmm.
the podcast that I was referencing. This is all like technically considered part of the Bruce Lee era, the Lee era, where everything's based off of like
Go on.
Bruce Lee films.
Yeah, there's always like a
It's
one
Game
kind
of
of Bruce,
Death, Enter the Dragon,
and there's
something
always like
along-
a Bruce Lee-esque character, you
Yeah.
know, does the wata thing and
Yep.
yeah.
88,
Yeah.
we had Double Dragon, which was just another beat 'em up, but it was widely popular.
Is that the one
80,
where are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president?
sorry, that might have been 87.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yeah.
That might have been
President's been
87.
kidnapped by
Bad.
ninja. By ninjas? Are you a bad enough dude to rescue him? One
Well,
of
that
the
was a
best-
very
Yeah, like, I don't know.
famous
I'm a pretty
beat 'em
bad
up.
dude, so
That's one of the best intro lines ever.
Then in
you see, it's funny that you mentioned beat 'em ups because I feel like modern fighting games and beat 'em ups they owe a lot to each other.
they do,
And,
they do. They're almost cut from the same cloth.
Mm-hmm. More or less, yeah.
I mean, as stated,
Because
Double Dragon was
Street Fighter 2 would have never happened if it weren't for Final Fight.
so yes, but Final Fight wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Street Fighter 1.
Yeah. And a lot of people they kind of forget the fact that the first Street Fighter actually was like a very fundamentally broken game. It's almost unplayable.
Well, it depends on which one you got. So
Mm-hmm.
so Street Fighter 1, there was the initial release, which got later dubbed into the deluxe version or the Lux version.
Fancy.
Yeah, it utilized a light, medium, and heavy attack, but it had joysticks and one button. And based off of how hard you pressed said button, depended on whether you used a light, medium, or heavy attack.
Yeah.
So
And
That sounds like that could be.
people kept breaking the goddamn machines because of it.
people kept breaking it. It was hard to, even if they didn't break it, it was just hard to quantify. All right, well, this is a light attack. This is a medium attack. So people were doing random things. And then they ended
Then
up
they moved
releasing.
it to a 6-button.
Yep, they ended up releasing the 6 button, which ended up still having issues because the computer wouldn't be able to keep up with the inputs being inputted. Like, it just
Yeah.
didn't want to do it.
So their eyes were too big for their stomach in a sense.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say they kind of flew too close to the sun and they were working. They were way
that's a
ahead
bit
of their
better.
time.
They're trying to be
It's,
innovative they were being too innovative for what they had available. Yeah.
Fun fact on Street Fighter
No,
number.
exactly. You see, clearly the technology couldn't keep up with the technology couldn't keep up with the ambition that they originally had. So obviously the game was going to suffer for that.
Ah, but yes, now
Yeah, again,
we have the
Nishinoya-
technology. We can rebuild him. We
Again,
can make him
Nishinoya,
stronger.
he ended up going on to doing like King of Fighters and Virtual Fighter. He ended up working on a lot of widely successful video games after Street Fighter. He was the main guy for Street Fighter 1. Fun fact on that, you were only able to play as Ken or Ryu.
Specifically, Ryu.
So yeah,
the
you
Palette
were.
Swap.
Sorry, yes, you were only able to use Ryu unless you did the 2-player mode, and then in the 2-player mode you lost, so you were now Ken as player 1 because player 2 is now player 1, if that makes sense. Who was just a color swapped Americanized version of Ryu.
Oh, so the person was supposed to just take your place in the game cabinet.
Kinda.
Yeah, okay.
But it
Yeah.
had 8 fighters. Again, you were only able to fight as either Ryu or Ken, so those were your only playable characters, but it had 8 distinct villains that you would, travel around and fight. And that came out in 1988 to mild
Yep.
success.
I love
And
that.
then they wanted to make a Street Fighter sequel because it was still fairly well received. Not great, but, enough. And Capcom was like, ooh, money. So they decided to, you can see sketch drawings for it and little testing for it for what would have been Street Fighter 89. There's like a basic
Yep.
rudimentary Chun-Li in there. There's all sorts of funness.
I think one of my favorite things about Street Fighter is the main character is literally
Yeah,
just
Street Fighter '89 is what would be Final Fight.
Yes, it ended up getting turned into Final Fight, which you can then be like, this is a classic beat 'em up. This is, widely successful. Not the first, but hugely successful. And you get Hagar.
Hagar.
Yes.
Actually, I just recently replayed the original Final Fight because Street Fighter 6 they have the arcade cabinets in the Battle Hub,
Yes.
and that game is just so much fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, you can. That actually owes a lot of things owe its inspiration from Final Fight because they wanted to have in Street Fighter 2 breakable, destructible background, foreground, and you ended up getting that with Final Fight. So you could break boxes, you can collect the steel pipe that Hagar is known for in Capcom versus pretty much anything. Effectively, that's where he's most known, I would say.
Yeah. People also like kind of forget Hagar was in his own kind of game first before Street Fighter 2 Saturday Night Slam Masters.
Is that the one where he goes around kicking like gangsters' butts and becomes the mayor of the city or some shit?
Kind of.
Well, he was a wrestler first in Saturday Night Slam Masters, and then he becomes the mayor because Mike Hagar is inspired by real life wrestler turned politician Jesse
Arnold
Ventura.
Schwarzenegger.
Wait,
Jesse Ventura.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
you ever see some of
He was
Jesse
in a movie
Ventura's up
with
to
Arnold
now?
Schwarzenegger, Predator.
What'd you say?
Did you ever see some of what Ventura's up to now? He literally just runs
I have
around the
no
country
idea.
trying to find conspiracy theories, saying he was like a senator or some shit. I'm a senator. Show me the proof. He just runs around like he goes to Area 51. I could be here. I'm a senator. Show me what's up at Area 51. I want to see the aliens.
Oh, jeez.
Not even he had a channel on like travel. He had a show on Travel Channel where he just ran around to places trying to find conspiracy theories.
So,
Not even joking.
we're going to get into the game that kind of changed fighting games. There's going to be a lot to talk about on this.
Mortal Kombat, the movie, the video game.
No, Street Fighter 2. There is a lot to talk about this. There is honestly just hours long worth of info that you can find on places way better than us. Not that we're not, okay now, but like we're still just winging it effectively.
Oh yeah, we just got 100 subscribers, I think.
Shout out to 100. This is not our 100. This is not our 100 episode, our 100th subscriber special. This is just the day that we happen to hit 100. So
We're just trying to figure out what we're doing for it.
Yeah.
I have some ideas.
Thank you, subscribers and watchers and listeners and people who just want to hate us.
And me.
Yeah, and you,
Our guests.
our guests.
Guest.
Do you have anything you want to say before we go on to Street Fighter 2?
I mean, we've kind of been talking about it, so.
No.
Well,
Before we
let's
go
see,
into it.
Before we really go into it, okay.
Yeah, because this is where we're going to have, unfortunately, a bulk of it because it did a lot for fighting
Dude, it's
games.
all good. I love Street Fighter. I could talk about it all day. That's my fighting game. Like, I love Street Fighter. Like, I
Everyone
have
has
very
one.
sentimental value for that game.
Everyone has a fighting game that they love.
Well, wait. So, but who's your favorite character?
Who's your favorite Sailor
Who's
Scout?
my favorite character? This is basic, but
If you know,
honestly,
you
it's Ryu. And I'll tell you why.
He's a
Because,
homeless dude who walks around kicking people's asses.
You see, that's what most people think on a surface level.
Oh no, I love him
But
because
really,
of that.
but honestly, and this is a good thing about like the newest Street Fighter because they actually, for the first time in forever, they actually focused a little bit more on the lore of Street Fighter because Street Fighter actually has a great lore.
Yes, which
And
didn't.
not a lot of
It wasn't
people-
quantified in Street Fighter 1. They definitely wanted to try that, but again, things at the time made it bad to quantify.
Honestly, the big four all have really fun, batshit sane lore. If you get into it, Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Soul Calibur. All their lore, when you get into their actual lore, is all fun batshit stuff.
I don't know if I'd call that
Oh,
the
yeah.
big four, but
I mean, they're
No,
the big.
I would. It's like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, and I consider it the big three. Soul Calibur. It you see, it feels wrong to put Soul Calibur in there without acknowledging Virtual Fighter, or you know what, to put in Tekken on that list without acknowledging Virtual
Well,
Fighter, because yeah.
I add Soul Calibur simply to add representation to the melee weapon fighting games.
I would also
No,
argue
that's
Because
fine.
they are kind of underrepresented.
I would also
No,
argue
you're right. They are.
I would also argue that in terms of sales on home consoles, I would say that those are the big four. Maybe Injustice nowadays, but
Also, any video game that allows you to make a giant penis lizard just
I hate
automatically
you.
brings it up to S tier. Have you ever made a giant wang in your
stop.
No?
Stop.
Well,
Get some help.
well, it has crossed my mind.
Uh,
But moving on.
Yes.
Um. So, let's talk about Street Fighter.
Yes. Let's get into the insanity that turned into Street Fighter 2. And it's 18 different fucking clones, offshoots, variants of, because
Like
it's been re-released and remastered and all sorts of different shit way too many times.
like Street Fighter the movie, the video game, also a video
Oh
game.
my, yes, Street Fighter movie, the game.
If I had a nickel for every time a video game turned movie had a video game, I'd have two.
It's not a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Exactly.
because Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I don't think any other
Well,
franchise
see-
has had one that like that yet.
But you see, the thing is, Mortal Kombat,
I think it's Fire Department Bros being Fire
Mortal
Department
Kombat was a
Bros.
game first before it became a movie. And,
So was Street
we
Fighter.
were very fortunate. Well, Street Fighter was a video game first before it was a movie. But the
Oh,
thing
sorry, I
is,
heard you the other way.
Mortal Kombat. You see, but the difference between that is that Mortal Kombat never actually, made a game based on the canon of the movie. That's what separates that. And
I thought they
you
did.
know, you see, no, they did. They didn't. However, they did add like Easter eggs where like they mocap the original actors from the movie, and then they had them as skins in Mortal Kombat 11, which I thought was great. Like movie Johnny Cage was honestly like my whole personality. I loved it. I thought it was great.
So interesting fact.
My-
Sorry.
But we are talking about Street Fighter, so
Yes, up until we get up to other notable franchises and when they get released, i.e. King of
Yeah,
Fighters,
staying
Virtual
on target.
Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, Soul Edge, Tekken, all that nonsense.
Fun fact-
Dynasty Warriors.
Fun fact about
well, Dynasty Warriors was a fighting game, and then it just turned into like its own like
Beat 'em up.
thing.
I was
yeah,
never
turn
really
it-
big
well,
on the Dynasty
yeah.
Warriors franchise.
Gundam Battle Assaults,
Those were great.
Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichis, Naruto Ninja fucking fighting games, Shonen Jump 1, all sorts of different things. But
Oh, Shonen.
I'm
Force.
insulted that you guys didn't bring up Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, Samurai. Yeah, that's a fun one.
it all stems, arguably it all stems, from Street Fighter 2. A lowly
Yes.
little arcade game that got turned into, you name a console, it's probably on it. You name something, it's probably on it. Whether it be Switch, PlayStation, Game Boy, literally
I
anything.
mean, you could argue Doom. Because what can you not
It's
run
like-
Doom on?
But
You do know that Street Fighter 2 is the most updated game
I am aware it holds a record
in
for
the
being the most
Yeah.
from a manufacturer, because you could argue mods, Gary's mod, Minecraft, Skyrim, but in terms of officially licensed updates, yes, but that's totally different. In 1991, Street Fighter 2 came out, and it was a one versus computer or 2v2.
It's
And
1v1 or two or one. It was a 1v1 or 1v computer.
Yep, that's what I said.
You said 2v2 like it was.
Oh, sorry, 2v2 is not correct. 1v1, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for
I am
holding me to standards.
invalidated.
And it had 8 playable characters and 4 bosses that were not playable during the initial release.
Yep.
Does anybody want to list off the initial 8 that you could play?
I do. I'm the guest. I need to do something.
By all means.
You are doing
So-
plenty. We like hearing your voice.
All right.
It is a
Why,
nice
thank
voice.
you. I like hearing my voice too. Thank you. So the 8 original characters that you could choose from in the original Street Fighter from Japan, Ryu, also from Japan, E Honda, and from America, Ken, also from America, Guile, from China, Chun Li, and the most famous female in fighting games. Period.
I would say Cammy has a way of arguing.
Lara Croft.
But she didn't come until like much later down the line. Moving on.
She was in
From
93.
India, Dalton. From Brazil.
Yep.
Blanca.
Yep.
And from the USSR or Russia, Zangief or Zangief, or guy that likes to crush head like a sparrow egg,
Yes.
as the young kids like. Like, hey, look, it's that guy from Wreck-It Ralph. I was like, oh my heart.
So
Yeah,
Guile.
those are the original Street Fighter. Yep.
Guile was modeled after the stereotypical American. And yes, he did have that really, really, really exaggerated flat top back then.
I mean,
And Zangief was because the developers loved WWE and they loved, well, not WWE, they loved pro wrestling, and they just wanted to have the USSR involved. They had Zangief come about as a pro wrestler mock villain. There's some initial like wonky backstories.
which is weird because pro wrestling is not typically associated with Russia in terms of martial arts. It's typically judo. The one begins with an S.
Sambo.
Thank you, sambo.
Sambo.
And that other one whose name is slipping me now too. But yeah,
Sistema.
yeah, Sistema.
True, but again, wrestling and just big burly men. Stereotypical Russia.
Also boxing technically because of Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Dolph Lundgren's character.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I will break you.
Do you want?
I must break you.
Do you
I
guys
must
want to
break
know a fun fact about Street Fighter 2?
I feel like you're going to tell us.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you anyway because
Please.
I'm the guest. So Kent Stage. There two fun facts about it. His main theme, watch the first 5 minutes of Top Gun, and tell me that's not inspired by that song.
I can see that.
Yeah. Also, the stage itself, that harbor, is based off a real place.
Wait, are you talking about Danger Zone
The
by
boat, the
Kenny
pier.
Loggins?
Yeah, no, not Kenny Loggins. It's by Cheap Trick.
Oh, okay, the other song. Okay, yeah, yep, that's okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I know the one you're talking about.
it was in the opening song.
Yep, it's been a hot minute
And
since I've
don't-
seen that movie.
Also, when you look back at it, when you look at Iceman, tell me he doesn't look like Guile. Shout out to Val Kilmer.
I can see that, yeah.
I mean, come on, the hair,
He just did the Flash, right?
everyone says that. Huh?
Or wait, was that him or Keaton who did the Flash? I'm sorry.
Michael Keaton was
Keaton,
in
okay,
Flash.
The
Totally
two-
different
Yeah, I don't want to
subject.
talk about that movie because it's bad.
We're fine. We're escaping. We're good.
Stumble.
So, back to Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2.
So you had another fun fact you were saying there.
No, that was the fun facts. It was,
Oh, okay.
Here's a fun fact.
yeah.
Do you know where Ken Masters got his name?
Yes,
one
it
of-
was. You see, because during the '90s when they were marketing the toy, it was given by who was it? Was it Mattel or Toy Biz, or who was the
Hasbro.
manufacturer that made the Hasbro? It was given by Hasbro because they wanted to separate Street Fighter Ken from Barbie's Ken.
Yes.
So they gave him the last name Masters, and then Japan picked it up.
Yep.
It's stuck ever
They
since.
just ran with it. But it is a nice little call out to Nishinoya's Kung Fu Masters, which he worked on before. Because Kung Fu Masters, Ken Masters, it's a nice little callback. Although I'm sure nobody in Hasbro actually fucking knew that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Hasbro came up with the name, and it stuck.
Yep.
It's a good name.
Yeah. It's a great last name. I mean, if someone had the last name Masters, I'd fucking respect him.
Were you from Street Fighter? I didn't know you worked here.
Yes. I don't, but that report was due Wednesday.
Do you know where the Hadouken got its name?
I know the Hadouken got it. I know how the Hadouken came about, how that happened.
Okay. You want to say it?
Yes. So, and I want to give a special shout out to the Art of One Dojo. He interviewed this martial artist, and he's a Goju Ryu practitioner. And in one of the forms, he does the whole the hand gesture that leads to the Hadouken. And while the original Street Fighter 1, when they were,
because Street Fighter 1 still had the Hadouken.
Did it really?
Yeah,
yes.
Street Fighter 1 had the it had the Hadouken.
It had the Hadouken,
really
the Tatsumaki Senpuken, and the Shoryuken.
The Tatsumaki.
The Hurricane Kick.
Oh yeah.
Just fucking spin kick. Yeah. Excuse me, pardon my French.
You're allowed to curse. It's fine.
We're all
adults here.
You know our intro.
Yeah. So, anyway, a martial artist. His name, he goes by the name of John something. Let me just do a quick search.
So no,
but
anyway, Goju Ryu is specifically
one of the
a
forms
style
that
of Okinawan karate, I think. No, Japanese karate,
yes,
I think.
Yeah, it is Japanese Okinawan. It's known as the hard soft style. And fun fact, it's the style that, canonically speaking, Mr. Miyagi uses in, Karate Kid.
Oh, okay.
But that's neither here or there. But there is a form called, I believe it's called a Seiyuchin or something. And one of the hand motions is the double palm. That is the Hadouken with a deep breath. So he was doing that move. And then while the artist was like drawing him, they saw him do that move, and they're like, "Hey, that's a cool move. What if we shot a ball of fire out of it?" It was so, believe it or not,
totally not ripping off Dragon Ball Z.
Actually, no.
No, it was also inspired by Dragon Ball. No, it's kind of a little bit.
No, so Nishinoya actually went on record as to say that it's from a space anime. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the Hayadoken or something like that with a space laser.
Oh, yes.
I think I know what you're talking about. Okay.
I think it came out in 1976, and it's like the Hayadu or something like that. Hyoya, some weird space laser name that I can't remember the name of it, and that's what I was trying to see if you would know.
The guy who invented the Hadouken, the martial artist, his name is John Paul Williams. I am sending you the link right now, Jackson, in your messages.
Okay.
So
I will somehow probably not figure out a way to put it onto the screen.
It's
here.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to. I'm just saying, like, this is something for you to look at in your spare time after.
Just a reference.
It's a me thing.
Like, I'm just like talking out of my ass here. So
I will plug the link in the comments.
There we go. That works.
Yeah. Fun fact. It's like it was also like the martial artist that did it, but is an African American male. So yeah. So haha, take that, racist people.
I'm not making the comment I'm making right now.
So we had Street Fighter 2. That came out in 91.
Yep.
Best-selling arcade of 91. 92, we had Street Fighter Turbo, which was based off of
Street Fighter Rainbow.
Street Fighter Rainbow, which was a hacked version of Street Fighter 2, which sped it up by 25%.
And
it also went out as
Street.
It also went out. You were allowed to change characters in Street Fighter 2.
Well, it allowed you to change characters mid-fight, and you could also do the special moves in the air. That was another key difference, too.
But that was
Sorry.
Hyper Fight in Japan. Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fight or Hyper Fight Street Fighter 2 in Japan.
Hyper
like
fighting, yeah. Street
Yeah,
Fighter
like that a little bit
2
better.
Dash Turbo Hyper fighting, yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's
And
word
then
salad.
there was Street Fighter 2 Champ 2 or CP2 when it got an upgrade.
Champion Edition.
Yep, when it got an upgraded computer, and that allowed you to get even more characters. Also, fun little fact about how they were able, because there was this big issue with memory and being able to utilize it all between specials, individual animations, all this fun stuff. So,
Was that a Metal Gear Solid Codex thing?
no, that's a phone in the room that we're in.
You could have just said yes.
Yeah, I would have been way cooler, but that's unfortunately not the case. I'm totally not
All right,
cool.
continue on.
I
Continue
sure
on.
shall. So, Daalism, he ended up having just 2 frames of animation to make up for the fact that he had stretchy arms when he was walking. He had only 2 frames of animation for his...
Buddhist
Yes.
guy, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's the yoga instructor
Yoga Flame.
who
Yeah.
canonically just wants to win the fight so this way he can send money back home so this way his village isn't poor.
Yep.
Is that a Dragon
true,
Ball
that's
Z
his lore.
Dragon Ball reference?
E Honda literally just wants to make people not wants to like raise awareness about sumo and just doesn't want people to like think that he's effectively fat, but he's actually good at fighting. He just wants to raise sumo awareness.
I mean, sumo wrestlers themselves are like kind of crazy shape. They're both like
Oh yeah, they are incredibly large in multiple ways.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. They're scary as hell. Like, would
you
you
ever-
go up against a sumo wrestler?
Yeah,
So-
why not?
Interesting fact about
No.
sumo. Really weird, quick stumble. There's this thing in sumo where because they do height-based category instead of weight, because they don't go by weight, they go kind of more based off height. Wrestlers, in order to get into, will get implants under their scalp to raise their head up a little bit,
Huh.
like surgically, like get their head kind of like a little bit taller, so they could be that much a little bit taller. And it's like really kind of weird to see. Like they'll kind of just have like this little cone head kind of thing going on, especially because they have the little
The top bun?
Yeah, I can't think of the Japanese word for it right now, but yeah,
Top
the
knot.
Yeah, but
That is
subscribe,
interesting.
Hello. Yeah,
There's people in our background.
it's kind of like how like you do like that whole like real weight cut thing for your competitions or whatever.
Canonically speaking, I do strongman.
But yeah, no, sumo wrestlers will kind of literally raise their heads.
Yeah, but yeah. So Street Fighter 2 Champions, that was the #1 bestseller for 1993. That introduced 4 new characters. It was Cammy, DJ. Who else?
I think you said Dalium or
No,
Fei
Daalism was
Long
part of
and
2.
T-Hawk.
Oh, okay.
Fei Long.
Dawson, Fei Long.
Daalism was part of Street Fighter 2.
Was he?
Yes,
Okay.
just initial base Street
Oh
Fighter
wait,
2.
I'm sorry.
T-Hawk,
DJ, Fei Long,
Fe-
T-Hawk, Cammy.
Yep.
Okay, there we are.
It also was this the one where they introduced the secret boss,
And
Yep.
Bison?
Akuma,
Akuma.
Oh,
the secret
okay.
boss. So there was like effectively a Nintendo Power. It wasn't a Nintendo Power, but the equivalent type of a thing, a video game magazine
It
that
definitely was Nintendo Power.
that was trying to figure out what the reference to Shenlong was whenever Ryu would win a fight. They would say that it was like his instructor or things like this, and it would be like, all right, well, we figured it out. We figured it out on an April Fool's issue of the magazine. We figured it out. We figured it out. You have to win every single match leading up to the boss, like the final fight, the winning screen, without getting hit. And then you needed to also last like 3 minutes or something like that in the final fight without getting hit, either of you. And then Shenlong would come out and kick M. Bison or whoever it was aside and he would now be your boss, which they ended up using for champions for Akuma. Basically the same thing. You couldn't get hit once during your 10 fights leading up to the boss match.
That sounds like a real pain in the butt to do.
Yeah.
I think the only thing worse than that is like trying to get a really specific time attack number. Because that is if you've played Gundam Battle
This
Assault
also
2,
did champions also did slow it back down
Oh, they
to
brought
the
speed
original.
back down?
Yeah, they bumped it back down to the original Street Fighter 2 fighting speed, and then they had Street Fighter Hyper Fight Turbo 2 or something like this. It was so Champions was released in, I think it's like October of '93, and then February of '94, the follow up to it, which was just the faster version of Champions, but you could also play the bosses. That ended up coming out in February of '94, so that ended up being the #1 arcade seller of '94. So for it ended up being like 4 years. It was the #1 arcade game.
So is that really the first case of, you versus the boss versus you when you unlock them type nerfing bullshit?
Yes and no, because there was technically a way that you could unlock Akuma in Street Fighter 2 Champions, but it wasn't supposed to be like playable. It was like a little glitch, and it turned him into a glass cannon. You did insane damage, but like he just couldn't take a hit.
Huh. Still though, I hate when they nerf a boss character in a game.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, have you ever fought Akuma in that era? He was the most difficult thing.
So
I've never fought Akuma that I don't know. I've not gotten around to that one.
Yeah, you don't.
do
You'll
you
throw
rem-
your controller at the TV.
do you remember the not Street Fighter 2 Champions, but the one that followed it? It was like Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fight Turbo. I know it wasn't Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Street Fighter 2 or Hyper Fighter Street Fighter 2. It was like Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fight Turbo or something like that, where it combined the names.
It was Street Fighter 2. It was Street Fighter 2 Dash Turbo Hyper Fighting.
Okay, yeah. See, like I said, it was some.
God, that's a mouthful.
Yes.
Wow, the word salad.
That was the sped up one, and in America, the arcade version. In America, the arcade version, it was actually glitched, so it was always stuck on the hardest difficulty in America.
Yep.
Oops.
So
That's awesome.
whenever you
Get good, scrub.
people love it, people think that it is the best version of Street Fighter 2 to play, unless you're in America and you're trying to do the arcade ladder. So, with that, even just generic Street Fighter 2 Dash Hyper Fight Turbo, not American, Akuma is incredibly hard to fight. With the American max difficulty, it's near impossible.
Well then.
Yeah, because the computer is programmed to read your inputs. Because when you ported, because when a lot of these arcade games were ported to home consoles, they kept the AI there.
Yep.
And people didn't know, like, those, the AI was programmed to take your quarters. And so, of course, like, it was bound to be notoriously difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so the other versions, the Japanese release, the the British release, all the other versions have difficulty settings that would actually adjust it. But the American one, no matter what you set it on, was stuck on the highest difficulty.
Apologies for a little bit of feedback.
There's some stuff going on outside. It's fine. We'll just do it live.
We're doing it live.
So, Street Fighter 2 ended up continuing to be this monster of a fighting game that spawned numerous knockoffs, numerous successions from various games, and really it kind of just changed the era because it was more of a plot-driven. You had unlockable, you had multi-characters that could do. There was air combat. It was pretty much the culmination of everything leading up into it, but it actually made you care about the story. And it actually made you want to continue. You would see in the continue screen people getting injured. You know, like It made you care about the characters.
So, like, one of my favorite things about fighting games is, like, when you beat the story mode with a side character and they have really weird ending scenarios that happen that are kind of
Like Yoshimitsu in any of the games.
or anything to do with the kangaroo.
Yeah.
But it's always
Kangaroo.
in a Tekken.
Yep.
Yeah.
He has a whole thing where he gets married, his wife has an affair and kicks him out of the house. Yeah, it plays out over
Yeah, that's
the
definitely
series.
Tekken.
Yeah, Tekken has a wonky storyline.
And apparently it's now technically considered part of the same universe as Street Fighter. Because Akuma was in...
Do you want to talk a little bit about that at all, or do you just want to leave it for another episode?
Are we? I mean, I don't mind talking about Akuma, but like,
well, because
I thought it was hilarious, the outrage. Like every professional Tekken player hated Akuma. The moment he came into Tekken, he just like bent over everyone. No matter how many times they tried to nerf him, he was like, depending on the player, he still did like 75% or like insta kill or touch of death combos. He was unstoppable.
So that partially leads back to Street Fighter 1 and another reason why it was broken. Depending on the specials that you hit with and when you hit them, it could like multi-chain damage, and the special attack, no matter which one you got, would do a third of the hit bar. So if you hit them in the right way, because they were trying to attack you as you hit them, you could lose 60-70% of your health with one hit in Street Fighter 1. It was botched. It was brutal.
That's almost kind of like real fighting.
No.
Well, I'm talking like you're seeing like a real fight when one guy gets the one clean hit off right in the jaw and the other guy just drops.
Yeah.
Loses all his HP, just done.
Yeah. That is another thing that they helped to, really bring about. Street Fighter Champions, or it might have been Dash Hyper Fight Turbo, the one that followed Champions. They added in a special bar at the bottom so that you had even more special attacks. Like whenever you would rack up a certain amount of combos, you would, whenever you would hit somebody, you would get a little bit of this percentage up, and that's where it's not the one that started it, but it helped popularize it.
Or you could take
where we got the special move, not just like, all right, yeah, I chained together a couple move sets to get it correctly.
A lot of them also, if you get hit yourself, the bar goes up a little bit more. So do you want to sacrifice that damage for better damage later? Which really, adds a bit of strategy to the game there.
Yeah.
I think, I know
But
Soul
Street
Calibur
Fighter,
does that.
but Street Fighter 2 was on Atari, Commodore, PC, all sorts of different modded PC gaming consoles back in the 90s. It was on PlayStation, all variants, effectively, Xbox on most variants, pretty much anything Nintendo. It was on Sega's. It was on. It was on fucking Game Boy for not Game Boy, Nintendo DS for Pete's sake. It was nuts. One of the most ported games of all time.
But can you play it on your
And
fridge?
updated games.
It is. Street Fighter 2 is the second highest grossing arcade game of all time, second to Space Invaders and Tetris.
Huh.
Or Pac-Man. I don't actually remember which one leads it, but it's the third highest. I know Space Invaders is beats it, but I don't remember if it's Tetris or Pac-Man. Tetris might just be like the highest grossing video game of all time, period. Pac-Man might beat it in arcade. I don't remember. Turns out, pretty much anything from that era that just is very iconic and classic, yeah, it's going to do well.
Make
But
an
to-
ass whack of money.
Yeah, but to be amongst royalty of things that are like still actively just like, here you go, have a free game because you bought a PlayStation or you bought a PC or,
I mean-
everybody likes Tetris. It's on phones. It's on anything and everything. And to just be behind that
Remember when the GameCube literally gave you like all the good Zelda console games just for buying it?
Yep.
And then they had the special edition Soul Calibur with Link. And then I think I want to say PlayStation had the Heihachi. And Xbox, I think it was Darth Vader or somebody else.
So Xbox usually got the Star Wars characters. I know one of them had Vader, one of them had Yoda.
Are we talking about Soul Calibur?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're talking about that Soul Calibur.
It was Soul Calibur.
4?
It was either 4 or 5.
It was it was the one on the GameCube, PlayStation.
Because 5 had. Who did 5 have? 5 had Ezio.
Yeah.
From Assassin's Creed, and 6 had Geralt from
Witcher.
The Witcher.
They get some interesting.
Yeah.
Soul
Calibur 4 had Star Wars characters, which was odd.
Yeah, the one PlayStation I think got Yoda, and Xbox got Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So Xbox during the 3 era with GameCube, PlayStation, and Xbox, it was Link, Heihachi, and somebody else who's. Oh man! Oh, it might have been the guy from God of War.
Kratos.
It might have been.
It might have been. But God of War would have been on PlayStation, as PlayStation has God of War rights. But
are we talking about Mortal Kombat 9?
No.
Because
too many fighting game secret unlockable characters with DLC crossovers. For God's sakes, Ryu is in Smash Brothers. That just goes to show us how like intertwined each video game IP is, and it's just like, all right, well, license this off because you guys are doing well. All right, license this off because you guys are doing well. We need not interrupt. That ends Street Fighter 2, though, I want to say.
Oh, it was Spawn. I'm sorry, it was Soul Calibur 2. It was Spawn, Link, and Heihachi Michi. Okay. That was gonna.
But I want to say that ends Street Fighter 2. And then.
Oh, Cloud was actually supposed to take Heihachi's place first. That would have been cool.
We can go into, on another episode, a follow-up episode, how Street Fighter 2 helped revolutionize tournaments and, again, spawned countless, like, clones and knockoffs. And, some that survived and some that didn't, and ended up going on to become what it is now with everything.
I mean, we could kind of start going into maybe Mortal Kombat or something, since that's the next big franchise.
Oh, yeah, all right, yeah. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat real fast and how they effectively created the ESRB.
Yeah, they basically did.
It was that and Postal.
Yeah, I remember Postal.
Doom was up for contention, but it wasn't.
Are you sure Doom? I'm pretty sure Doom was up there.
Doom was up for contention.
Doom got up there because of a certain 1999 incident in Colorado.
Yes.
Oh.
We will not get into.
But Mortal Kombat, Postal, those were the two main ones that really led the fight for ESRB to become a thing.
Yeah, I think
we covered it loosely in GTA, in our GTA episode. Call back. But as it turns out, Mortal Kombat, like I said, was like the one to more or less make it. It's not the first one to do pixelized characters on a green screen fighting effectively, but it was the most popular. It was the bloodiest. It had the fatality, finish him. It had
dun, dun, dun.
The most graphic. It was like the badass version of the fighting games. It was the cool kids. It was the okay, you don't want your parents seeing this.
Fun fact about the fatalities. They weren't actually supposed to be known at first. They were supposed to be just a hidden secret.
Yeah. That was something that video game developers loved doing back in the 80s and 90s. Where it was just like, hey, so these are the things you can do. Bye.
But yeah, no, the special combos you're supposed to do is a secret, and apparently it took I think 2 weeks or something for gamers to find it.
Yep. Before they found the first one.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. If you want something found, in like when it comes to gamers, they will just all the data like they're crazy, especially the modding community. They just any and all bit of data that they can find just pulling from the game for whatever reason, they'll just delve into. It's insane.
Yeah, they're very good at it.
Yeah.
And if you tell them that there's a rumor about a thing, they will fucking try to find that rumor.
Like that and the speedrunning community are just kind of like, because they just go out of the way to find every little glitch to just cheese the system that much more.
Yep. But Mortal Kombat, yeah, it had introduced, like I said, it wasn't introducing, but it was like the most known, the most prolific, pixelized version of a character that was effectively just green screened onto it.
So, did you know Mortal Kombat was actually supposed to be based off Jean-Claude Van Damme's Kumite movie?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they couldn't quite get the rights to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, he didn't want to give up his image. So that's how Johnny Cage came about, and they kind of made him like a cheesy ham character.
Yep.
To insult Jean-Claude Van Damme. But
yeah.
It wasn't to insult. It was more like a pay tribute, I guess.
And they have their own Bruce Lee stand-in because every fighting game has a Bruce Lee stand-in.
Yeah, he was the
Pretty
first,
much, yeah.
I believe, because
He was not the first Bruce Lee standing.
Didn't come until he wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. Who was?
So Fei Long was the first to actually pay homage to Bruce Lee because when you won with Fei Long, he ends up having an ending screen, the credit screen, where it's like, okay, cool, we could have you be the next great one. And it's like, no, there is none great. There is no other great ones other than him and his son, paying reference to Bruce and Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
But they're probably the most known, but there was a lot of people just riffing almost exclusively off of Bruce Lee or Brandon Lee's image in the 80s, where it's just like, all right, well, this is just Game of Death. This is just Enter the Dragon. This is just insert any fucking, fighting movie, which was 90% of them in the 70s, just 80s, trying to recapture the glory days of Bruce Lee being around and being like, haha, our Bruce Lee stand-in.
So, who would you say is the best Bruce Lee stand-in character?
The best?
Oh.
Yeah. Let's ask that question.
All right. Are we doing a round robin, or who goes first?
We'll let you go first. Who do you think?
You're our guest.
We'll put you on the hot seat first.
Be our guest.
Okay. Based purely on, authenticity of the martial art as well as like the mannerisms, the best Bruce Lee tribute character, hands down, martial law from Tekken.
Yeah.
I will agree that in terms of likeness and resemblance of the art of
Jeet Kune Do,
Wing Chun, Chinese boxing, whatever you want to, delve on. Yes, I would say that he's very good. I would say Fei Long, as just mentioned, is probably up there in top 2, top 3, just because, again, he is like the only one that actually paid any real homage to him in terms of his ending credit on Street Fighter when you won with him. I would say that those two are probably up there. Then there's a lot of like random one-shot, little itty-bitty games that aren't, Tekken or Street Fighter, or, the smaller guys, they have their own Bruce Lee stand-ins. I'm sure that there's some on there that are very good. What about you? What do you say?
I'm trying to get his name because it's man, what the fuck is
What's he from?
the one from Virtual Fighter. Oh man,
Jackie Bryant.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just something about the way he was characterized just amused me the best. It wasn't even because he's like the best. His character just kind of amused me when I was playing with him.
Actually, it's funny because
That's
even
why.
though he's not directly based off of Bruce Lee, he is loosely inspired by Steve McQueen.
Ka-chow.
who in the 70s was was a friend of Bruce Lee's.
Ka-chow.
Huh, that makes
Yes,
sense.
and also Lightning McQueen. Yeah. So like, yeah, there is a Bruce Lee connection in there if you like, look hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Because
look
wasn't
hard enough
like
at
Steve
anything, there's a
McQueen a
Bruce
race
Lee
car
connection.
driver and an actor, or
I mean, Liu Kang is pretty good too, especially because he just turns into a dragon, which is kind of obvious because Bruce Lee was the dragon and stuff.
hmm
But I don't know, whatever it was about him, it was just kind of me. But
So back to the subject of Mortal Kombat. Um, I actually have a very interesting story of how I first discovered the game.
Was it a
You know
GameStop?
how?
Not sponsored.
No, I did not. No,
definitely
no.
not
This is
sponsored.
yeah, definitely not sponsored. So I was about. I'm trying to. When did Mortal Kombat come out again? Like '93 or like '92?
Oh, jeez. I want to say that was 93.
Yeah,
I would have been uh, canonically one at the time.
yeah, I think it was 93.
Yeah, '93, I believe, because '95 the movie came out,
Which I
and
mean was
um,
ridiculous, but still kind of slaps.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, like that movie's great, like all time hood classic. But anyway, my story. Um,
He
I was,
said no me.
I, yeah, me, I'm the guest.
1992.
So,
Sorry, fact
It
check.
came out in
so
92.
1990.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
So
Yeah.
like this was either '92 or '93, and either way, the game was like big. So I was a very young boy. I was about like
You don't have to
I
give.
say like
You could say you were
well, so
50.
when
I wouldn't know.
I well no, um,
I would have been
but I was
805.
around like maybe four. I was maybe 4 or 5, and I was living in New York City in downtown East Village. So there was a laundry store. There was a laundromat where we would usually go to Venero's, which was on Avenue B or something, and there was a bakery, and it was around the corner. There was a laundromat that had Mortal Kombat, so I would beg my dad, and he would be like, "Oh, can I play the game? You know, play the game?" I was like, "Fine, all right, fine. You have fun. You do it." And unfortunately, my very first time playing Mortal Kombat, I went up against Sub Zero and I got my spine ripped out, and the game traumatized the shit out of me. Can you imagine being 3, 4 years old? You see finish him, and then you see this blue ninja guy come up and just rip your goddamn spine out. Do you know how scared I was? And my dad laughed. The funny thing wasn't even the fact that I.
He watched.
It
He
wasn't.
watched you.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I was a
Based
kid.
dad.
There needs to be a. Yeah, no, I'm
Well,
bless
you were in
him.
the
I love you,
laundromat.
Dad.
He could have been
So
like filling the clothes
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
he's like,
I
oh,
don't
no,
what's
we
know.
this
weren't
game you're
doing
doing?
laundry. We weren't doing laundry. We were picking up pastries from the bakery.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like this laundromat was around the corner from like where that bakery was. It was
Oh,
Veneros. Look it
okay,
up.
okay, I see it. There,
Yeah,
yeah.
in New York City. So so I'm like finished. So my dad's watching, and he's like, "Oh, kick his ass!" Like, "Oh, he got you." Then the my dad's like, "Holy shit, that's cool!" And I'm just like, "Oh!" And I'm like, and I was
So
like, "All
based.
right." And my dad's just like, "Why are you laughing?" It's like, "Come on, it's kind of funny." It's like, I was like, I've never seen a fucking spine get ripped out. Like, give me a break. Like,
Based dad
and I
is
was,
based.
so,
oh
uh,
god.
so I got two.
But that,
Sorry.
so because of that, I never touch. I rarely touch Mortal Kombat forever. And like whenever the game was at an arcade, and I was by the arcade, I would see like people play the game, and blood was coming out. I'd just be like, no, 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 not looking, not looking. But
Huh.
then like the first Kombat game that I played when I finally like I was
When you
like
got
12,
over it.
13. And I'm like when I got over it, it's like, all right, listen, you're a teenager, you got this, you've grown up. And my first Mortal Kombat game that I actually played and stomached it for the first time was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay, I know. That's I think that was the one that first introduced like the kind of co-op feature. Where it was like you had
well,
two team up feature. You had two characters, I think.
So no, there was a tag
well,
team before that. There was actually a wrestling game that introduced the tag team feature.
Well, I meant the first Mortal Kombat game to do it itself. I think that was the one that first did the first whatever. Anyway,
well, Deadly Alliance was for PS2, and
God, we're old.
yeah, and all I could say was Deadly Alliance was like the first like full 3D Mortal Kombat game. You had Mortal Kombat 4, which was just a fucking was a mess. That game was a mess. But Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance was the first one that you could actually like you move freely around the 3D plane. That was also the first Mortal Kombat game to kill Liu Kang. Well,
oh yeah,
Hmm.
well, technically, Liu Kang does die in an ending in Mortal Kombat 4,
Is that the
but
one where Raiden
the
kills
game
him?
no. It like Deadly Alliance was the first one they canonically like full on legit killed Liu Kang. Like they snuffed him in like the first like cutscene of the game, and that's a
Oh,
big
okay. I
deal.
know the one you're talking. Yep. Okay, now it's coming back to me. I know that. Yep.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
he gets his neck
So
snapped from behind or something like that.
yeah, I
Definitely.
know that was some dirty shit. Like he got
They
like
did my
they
daughter
like
dirty.
punchy.
They did him dirty.
But
It's like they just like
Mortal Kombat.
freaking Shang Tsung.
Mortal Kombat's fun because technically every game and side game are all canon. Like even like the
Yeah.
DC crossover one is considered canon.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's fun because it just makes so you have like the characters from the movie showing up, the characters from the original video games versus their newer, younger,
They
older
make
self.
like funny, vague references to like Injustice.
Yep.
All the guest characters that come up in that game.
Then
So
like you get like characters like the Terminator and Predator showing up and stuff like. Uh, so
I don't
that
know. The guest characters kind of got a little out of hand when
well,
later Mortal Kombat games. Like I remember writing a status about this when MK11 came out, and they announced like the secret characters and like all the guest fighters. It was like Terminator, RoboCop, Rambo, Joker, and my first thought was, dude, this game is a fucking Comic Con lineup.
well, well. First off, the Joker got really annoying in that game with that stupid walking stick he had that he was always clacking around.
Yeah.
But
Oh no, Joker was unfucking fair. Like
but
I've lost so many times to Joker, but then like when you recognize the pattern, people get like super scrubby with it, and then like if you know what to look for, you know how to like counter Joker.
so
And I have plenty of like really good replays of like me just like stomping people out. But like
so
Joker was a damn good character.
have you seen the new rumor character coming out with Omni Man and Homelander for Mortal Kombat?
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, for the new one, it's MK1 because I believe because when it came to guest fighters in like these Mortal Kombat games, they always followed a theme. Like for instance, Mortal Kombat X, their theme in terms of guest characters was horror. So they had Leatherface, Jason, Alien, and Predator. So Mortal Kombat 11, their theme was like, time travel and 80s action. So
Yep.
you got Rambo, Terminator,
RoboCop
RoboCop,
Yep.
and
you know.
somebody else
So I
too.
guess
Whatever.
um, RoboCop. Who else was it? There is somebody else that maybe it's slipping my mind.
It'll
Not
come.
Joker. No, not Joker. Oh yeah, Spawn. But Spawn isn't time travel.
No, but
But
Spawn is like very '90s. I think kind of represented the '90s there, with
yeah, 90s.
just to give that little
McFarlane.
yeah. Which in and of
Yeah, that
itself, we
makes
should
sense.
do
I
an
guess.
episode on
McFarlaneisms.
we gotta do an episode on him. He's
Yeah.
fun.
Um, but the theme for MK1, it's like all powerful gods,
Okay, that
and
makes
I
if
can
sense.
they're
see that.
like,
Yeah.
so like if they're having Homelander and Omni Man go up against Fire God
Superman
Liu
and
Kang.
I don't think they're going to bring in
Well,
Superman
they
because they
can't
can't
have.
have Superman kill.
Well, they
like
can't
that.
have Superman kill people, but they can.
General
Well, I don't know.
Zod.
They
General
not
Zod though they
General
could
Zod,
throw in there. I, I could see that. General Zod
but
might work.
Goku.
but definitely like Homelander and Omni Man make a lot of sense in the grand scheme of
Ooh, I want to
things.
see Kienzan as a finisher
Who?
using Goku. Then I said use the Destructo Disc as one of the fatalities. Get him like Frieza.
Yeah. Or if they really want to like add to the theme, they could just like go. Honestly,
Hyperion.
a great a great guest character that I
The
would love for
Hulk?
MK1. No, Shredder.
Shredder?
I can kind of
Yeah,
see
because
that.
they already
It'll work with the
yeah
theme.
because like
Yeah.
they already have like the Ninja Turtles and Injustice. Bring Shredder, dude, that would be nuts.
I guess.
All those blades, you could come up with some pretty good fatalities.
Oh yeah, no, like there could be like some like
Yeah.
disgusting
I mean, heck,
things you could
the
do with
original
Shredder.
The original Ninja Turtles is violent as hell. It works.
Correct.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So,
Which, by the way, like when they announced like the TMNT for Injustice, it was like Christmas, and I was like so happy.
All right.
so
And I'm like, I knew I spent like $80 on this game for a reason. But anyway, back to
know.
Mortal Kombat.
I have two quick questions to because we're kind of going on time here a little bit. I don't know how much longer
All
you
right,
got.
go for it.
So I had two.
I got time. Don't worry.
So I had two questions, but I'll only go with the. I'll go with the one.
You can answer them both. You can ask them both.
Okay, fine. First one. Who would be
Yes.
your favorite guest character? Like, if you could choose any one guest character from anything and throw them into one particular franchise, who would you choose?
And what franchise?
Yeah, which franchise and which guest character would you choose?
Well, first off, that's a great question because like
Good question. Good question.
um it's a really good question, but like I feel like it's one that I already got the answer to because the Ninja Turtles were already in Injustice, and it was just they were perfect. Like
Good
they
answer.
looked
Good
perfect,
answer.
they played perfect. So that's the obvious one. That made the most sense.
Good answer.
That
Good
is a
answer.
good one.
So
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, that's a good one.
Hellboy was pretty good with
The
it too.
good thing is, yeah, it was, and that was just a great inclusion. So yeah, that's my answer. So next question.
Well, did you have one, Jackson?
Next question, Bob Ross.
All right, I was going to see if you had a character.
Oh, if I had a character?
If you had like a character like if you had a character you could add to a franchise, like say, I know you like Conan the Barbarian, so you could throw him in like Mortal Kombat or I don't know Soul Calibur or something.
I would say Death Dealer. I
The
like him
Frazetta
more.
character,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Frazetta character,
Well, I
Death
just
Dealer,
threw out whatever.
and put him in Mortal Kombat because why wouldn't you have a character by the name of Death Dealer in Mortal Kombat?
With that giant axe and
So
sword.
wait,
Yes.
where is Death Dealer? Where's he from?
So, there's an artist back in the 70s. That's where he really got a lot of his fame. The 70s. He was still doing stuff in the 60s, the 50s, the 80s, but he made like his name in the late 60s and 70s. Frank Frazetta.
Frank Frazetta.
He was the guy that did Vampirella issue #1 with that iconic red string bikini with the moon behind her. He did the iconic Conan with the skull moon where he's standing on a pile of bodies holding the sword. He has a piece called Death Dealer, which ended up being like a 4 or 5 run using the same character, which later got adapted by, I believe it was IDW. It was referred to as Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer. It was just referred to as Death Dealer. And then now Opus is doing a run called Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer. And he's very Skyrim-esque in terms of like appearance.
I would say he kind of inspired
Very,
like
like-
the Nord Skyrim character look. Yeah.
Yeah, if I was to base him off of anything, I would say he's very much that iconic dragon horn, just burly dude, dragonborn look from Skyrim.
He has him as the whole back piece. It's pretty impressive.
Yes, he is. I do love Frank Frazetta's artwork, and that is my favorite piece from Frazetta, and it is on my back. but
Nice.
that is slightly different. I would say him in Mortal Kombat because, again, how could you not have a guy by the name of Death Dealer who is just an iconic piece of art and adapted into comic books,
He deals the death.
put in a game called Mortal Kombat.
Another great character that I feel would benefit greatly as a guest character, Baki Hanma from Grappler Baki in Tekken.
Yes. Yeah, that would work pretty good.
What about you?
Like that's a lot of Tekken fans have been requesting him, and also either him and like
I would say his
everyone's
father
also
would be
been-
good in Mortal Kombat.
Yujiro?
Yeah, usually would be pretty good
Yeah.
in Mortal Kombat with the face rep and shit.
Yeah.
If I had to go with a character, I mean, a lot of people who know me will probably say I'd say like Vampire Hunter D, obviously, to Soul Calibur. However,
good. That's
Comma.
I'm actually going to go with this is gonna be fun. The Power Rangers in Injustice.
That's a good one.
Because I think because you could also kind of play off like how like the TMNT it switched randomly with Turtles, which one you kind of played. You could kind of play the same thing where you'd switch between like different Rangers, and their moveset would
Yeah.
be slightly different but pretty much the same. I think that would
And
probably,
it's
especially since they
it-
have a
it's
crossover.
actually-
Sorry.
yeah, that's actually really interesting because Ryu and Chun-Li they actually crossed over in the Power Rangers fighting game.
Oh, Ryu's
It
armor.
made a lot of sense.
Ryu's suit went hard.
Oh yeah, no, the Crimson Hawk Ryu outfit, beautiful, and also I believe what was the Sapphire Crane or whatever.
Yep, Chun-Li. Yeah.
Or, yeah.
But if I had
Yeah.
to, although sticking with the Tokuhatsu theme real quick, if I had to go with a quick number 2, I'd say Kamen Rider for Tekken.
That would make sense. That's cool.
Especially with the jump kick theme, because he does like a lot of jump kicks and aerial attacks. I think he'd be like
Yes.
he'd be pretty. He'd be good to match up against Yoshimitsu and Martial Law, because they also tend to be
Oh,
aerial.
God.
Yeah. So he'd be like a kind of a guest foil for them, I suppose.
All right, and you had a second
Yeah, that
question
makes a lot of
for
sense.
All right, my second one, real quick. What fighting game characters, style slash like special move set would you want in real life? If you could choose one to like have, like which
just one.
Yeah, which character would you choose and what, like what move set or style per se?
Okay, this is actually a really good question because like
Good question.
I
Patronizing dick.
I studied multiple types of martial arts, so like I have a little bit from like column A, a little bit from column B. If there's a fighting style that just looks really fucking cool, that I would really love, it would be Lars Alexanderson's moveset from the Tekken games.
He's the cousin of he's Heihachi's illegitimate son, right?
Yep, and that would make him Jin's uncle, and
I was gonna say
Kazuya's
cousin for a
half-brother.
second, but no, never mind.
Yeah,
it's
no,
uncle.
but like, it's like, it's actually funny because he's been notoriously mocked for being like a weeb character, and I'm like, it's like, listen,
I mean, he's
I played
technically
the
half
character,
Japanese, so does that make him a weeb?
it doesn't make him a weeb, but his moves are just anime as fuck.
So,
Like,
so
that's
So canonically, you want anime as fucking fighting moves.
all right, that works. So,
yeah, wouldn't anyone like?
so canonically, weird thing about Tekken,
My
the
man, you
Mish-
could have went with like Marvel versus Capcom and had any Marvel character effectively.
Dude, fuck that! I want to hit someone, and I want like a whole like lightning to
So-
strike someone as I hit them.
Well,
You could have
what-
had
like-
Frank from Capcom versus Jesus. You could have had Frank from
What
Dead
about-
Rising.
So
Why? So I could take pictures and like like body slam people. I could do that in real life.
You could put a Lego head on somebody.
so
I don't want to hit anyone. I know. I want.
So,
listen,
wait,
I
wait,
want
wait.
fucking lightning there. So
wait, so
Ryan?
interesting fact. Did you know that the lightning that comes out when any of the Mishimas That's actually just canonically something that their bloodline does. They just have lightning that just shoots from their hands when they punch things. That's just canonically something that they're.
You're asking if he knew that.
I'm sure.
Yes, he knew that.
Of course I knew
but
that.
did you know that, camera?
People watching. Yeah, no, it's just it's just something that just happens because that's what's in their bloodline. There's no real other. It's just like, oh yeah, we have lightning when we punch
they
things.
just
Like, what?
They just manifest their chi, and then they're like so good with it that
It
they
becomes
literally can
lightning.
hit you and
It's
then
lightning.
you just like fucking electrocute you with one punch.
One punch.
Which
Yeah.
the band for that is Jam Project, by the way, who does the Garo openings. If anybody cares. Interesting.
What about you?
All right, I'll keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind.
I don't know if you know Garo. It's a Japanese tokuhatsu. It's pretty good.
But what? Who would you choose?
I'd probably have to go with kind of being basic here, but Ryu, because I just kind of want to shoot fireballs from my hands.
To be fair, canonically, he does study Shotokan karate.
Yeah,
He's actually Shoto. So a lot of people are based off of him in Shoto styles. They're referred to as that in fighting games.
Yeah, a lot of people
And then
use,
DJ, the other guy is Reki fighting
I think
styles that a lot of people
Jin is also Shotokan based.
Jin is Shotokan.
And then a lot of people also use they call it something else because they use the Japanese name, but they use something called Bujinkan. Bajinquan. It's a Chinese.
Baji-Quan.
It's a Chinese kung fu system that focuses on very heavy strikes and hits using like your elbows, knees, shoulders. Like it.
Yeah, that's Akira from Virtual Fighter.
Yeah, they call it something else. They
A
use
lot of people
Japanese
also
name
use
for
Muay
it.
Thai.
Hakyaku Ken or whatever. Hakyoku Ken or whatever. I don't know.
It's
I just know it as Baji-Quan.
It's a Japanese. Japanese have their own they have Chinese martial arts kind of. They just call it a Japanese name. Like Kempo is kung fu, kind of sort. It's weird.
Yeah, just call it Kempo.
And they'll kind of get pissy at you if you start mixing and matching that stuff. So be careful. But yeah, no, I kind of just want to be able to do flying spin kicks and shoot fireballs out of my hand, and give people
that's entirely valid.
and give people a touch that destroys their soul. Apparently,
Yeah, that was a weird episode.
the Satsu Haki no, however you call it.
Yeah.
You mean the Satsui no Hado?
Yeah, the where he turns all.
Yeah, the Shungoku Satsu.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna choose Kirby from Smash Brothers because then I can take anybody's.
You just want to
Like
really
suck people
just
off
wanna
and just like
you suck people for power.
I turn into Big Rock and fall very fast.
I mean, canonically, Kirby is one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
Oh my god, he's nuts.
So I guess that kind of makes sense, yeah.
He just like is effectively a little god, and nobody cares. He is like whoop, big,
His
and
body
nobody
just
gives a
houses
fuck.
its own dimension that can turn it. Like, and he rides around on a little star-shaped scooter.
Yeah, and again, he is like minuscule if you actually compare him to anything in like actual proportions. He's smaller than a Pikachu.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he is so small. But I have multi-jump.
You could just kind of inflate yourself and float
Yeah,
through the air.
I have multi-jump. I can just immediately drop down the down B. I can up B and pull a sword out of nowhere and apparently cause a little fucking sword. And then I can just take other people's powers. And I got a big old mouth that I also pull out from nowhere and just charge up and it turns fire. Kirby is too strong.
That's, all right, yeah, that that's pretty good.
I was thinking about saying Sonic Chew, but you know, because he gets the Chaos Emeralds and he can turn into effectively just a Super Saiyan.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You sound disappointed with my answers.
you know,
I don't know. It's
the
I understand that I'm taking a more
Chris
comical
Chan
approach of
reference.
it, but to be fair, he is
Okay,
a
don't worry
fighting
about
game
it.
character
you're not you're technically correct,
in the worst way, but I am technically correct.
which is the best kind of correct.
I
Futurama
don't know,
reference.
man. I'm not a. You know how I feel about Smash.
I
so-
understand. I understand. It's not for everybody. But again, canonically speaking, I can take the powers of anybody that I wanted to, effectively.
And canonically speaking, I hate Smash.
It's now part of the canon.
All right, Cam. You have been fantastic. You asked us about plugging things earlier. Go right ahead.
Please.
Do your little plugs. But before that, I do have.
All right. Well,
I have a question of my own that I want to ask.
Yes.
Would you be interested in joining us for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode in the future, or a part 2 of this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we could also do like a just regular martial arts episode if you want to.
Dude, you don't have to convince me. I said yes. Like,
But we're just coming up with fun ideas for the future.
Please plug away.
I know.
Yeah, but
So, all right. So check out my Instagram. It's my cosplay/entertainment profile. Cosplay is kind of slowing down. Yeah, I'm planning a wedding right now, but you can find me on
Congrats.
Instagram at Cam Cosplay NY. That is CAM Cosplay NY.
All one
IG.
word or separated? Just for the people
All
out there.
one word. All one word.
Also, by all means, you can plug the stuff in the comments too, or.
Yeah, have fun with it.
But,
Oh yeah, definitely. Well,
I'll
you
pin
know, yes. So yeah, post one of my. As a matter of fact, in honor of today's discussion about fighting games, I give you full permission to use my Ryu, cosplay, or my Johnny Cage cosplay, which they're both like baller picks.
Talk about for the
Especially my
thumbnail.
Johnny Cage one. I got like this really sick.
You
I
heard
got
it,
this
people.
really. Yeah, I did this really sick sidekick.
Nice. All right.
All right. Anything
So,
else?
That's me.
Just the Instagram.
Don't do drugs. Yeah, that's it.
Oops.
Do hugs, not drugs, people.
Oops.
Do hugs, nugs, drugs.
Chicken nug nugs?
Nugs, hugs, drugs.
I
Oh,
can
you did nugs.
Hey.
A different form of nugs,
Well,
but
yeah,
you did
yeah,
nugs.
nugs, like chicken nuggets. I don't
All right,
know
people.
what you guys were thinking, but like,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, it's legal here in New York. Recreational.
yeah, I know.
Yee.
All right, people. Have a good night.
All right, have a good night.
So long.